Hello and welcome to today's webinar, 5 Trends Shaping a New Reality for Nonprofits, presented by Jay Wilkinson, founder and CEO of Firespring. We are excited to partner with Friedman LLP, an accounting firm based out of Manhattan that helps over 200 nonprofits fulfill their mission. As a firm and as individuals, they are deeply committed to making a difference in communities in which they live and work. Their shared focus and dedication to nonprofits is why we are just so glad that we've collaborated with them to provide this session on trends facing nonprofits. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Amish Mehta with Friedman LLP to join us and say a few words. Amish, are you there?
I'm here, Lindsay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into Firespring's highly anticipated webinar, 5 Trends Shaping a New Reality for Nonprofits. I'm Amish Mehta, partner and the nonprofit practice leader at Friedman LLP. We're proud of the relationship that we've had with Firespring, and this is the second webinar that we've partnered on. For more than 90 years, Friedman's provided accounting, audit, tax, and advisory services for public and private companies. And the nonprofit niche is a key niche practice area for the firm. Today, we're going to examine how shifts in the technology space are compelling nonprofits and service-oriented industries to respond in real time. And at Friedman, we understand the importance of responding to support your growing needs, and we've expanded our service offerings to include specialty areas such as cybersecurity and digital currency consulting. We realize that many nonprofits have started to perhaps consider accepting or have begun accepting alternative forms of currency, and we've established a niche in that practice area as well to meet that need. We also regularly publish a nonprofit newsletter in which our leading professionals discuss key ways to address industry challenges. Our next article is on the liquidity and the new disclosure requirements as they relate to the new not-for-profit financial reporting standards, which are effective for fiscal years ending December 31, 2018 and after. We recently did a webinar on this particular standard, a recording of which is available on our website at www.friedmanllp.com. And following this webinar, I encourage you to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, The Nonprofit Advisor. In addition, my contact information is included in the materials, so please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. So now we're thrilled to be Firespring friends, bringing you this exciting webinar on the 5 trends shaping a new reality for nonprofits. Advancing technology, social enterprise, and shifting demographics are changing how nonprofits communicate, engage, operate, and serve. And while these shifts are creating unprecedented opportunities for nonprofits, they also present new challenges as we learn to navigate this new and ever-evolving landscape. Jay Wilkinson is going to review the 5 major trends shaping a new reality for nonprofits, which include shifting demographics, great interest in service, blurred lines between nonprofit and for-profit, advancing technology, and new ways to engage and collaborate. Just a very brief point on one of the bullet points that Jay's going to cover in terms of the blurred lines between nonprofits and for-profits. You know, we've seen more recently a lot of nonprofits engaging and essentially establishing for-profit entities as they look for other ways to generate revenues, but perhaps doing joint ventures, licensing agreements, trademarks, copyrights. So that's something that we've been at the forefront with our clients, helping them, advising them in that area. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over back to Lindsay, and she'll introduce Jay.
Great. Thank you so much, Amish. So with that, I'd like to take a moment to introduce today's presenter. As Amish said, it's going to be Jay Wilkinson. Jay Wilkinson is an entrepreneur and an innovator who serves as the CEO of Firespring, which is a Nebraska-based certified B Corporation. In 2016, Firespring was featured in Inc. magazine as one of the top 50 places to work in America. As a philanthropist, Jay has raised millions of dollars for nonprofits and spends half of his time helping nonprofit organizations leverage their mission and deepen their impact. A graduate of MIT's Entrepreneurial Masters program, Jay has appeared on CNN and other national news outlets discussing the important role nonprofits play in the U.S. economy. So I'm very pleased to have Jay available to share this valuable information with you all this morning. And I am happy to have you participate in this session as well. So thank you for being here. So it is my pleasure now to introduce and turn the presentation over to Jay Wilkinson.
Lindsay, thank you so much. And also, Amish, thank you so much for the partnership. We really appreciate the partnership we have with Friedman LLP and bringing our audiences together for this session. We're very excited about it. So welcome, everyone, to today's session. I want to start just by laying down a perspective. So imagine a world where when we maybe log into CNN in the morning on our home computer or we're watching the news, instead of reading about the age differences between celebrities and some of the entertainment news, imagine if we were instead reading about how nonprofits are changing the world with the work that they do. Imagine how different it would feel and how different it would be if we seem to care more about the good that's being done in the world. And I know in our local news here in Nebraska, we cherish the notion that we are the state that led the nation in resettling the most refugees per capita. It's something that we're very proud of, but the average Nebraskan doesn't even know about that. They have no idea that our larger metro areas in Omaha and Lincoln are forging new paths. And it's sad because there's so much distraction that happens in the world. And I think that kind of ties back to what Ronald Reagan said back in 1986. I don't know, many of you may remember, if you were around then, he said the famous words, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. He got a good chuckle out of that. But it's so true. Since he uttered those words, the size of the government and the government taking on responsibility for what used to be the domain of nonprofit organizations has literally tripled in terms of its scope and reach. But yet during that same time frame, we still have seen massive change in job growth in the nonprofit sector. If we just take the last 10 years that we have full data on, 2007 to 2017, during that 10-year period, there was a 0.6% decrease in jobs in the for-profit sector, while the nonprofit sector grew 3.7% in terms of its job growth. And if you think about those jobs and you take all the nonprofit employees in the United States today and you add together all of those that are in the news, in other words, the celebrities, the politicians, and the criminals that are incarcerated, there are more nonprofit employees than there are in all of these other categories. So why aren't we standing up in the nonprofit sector and taking our rightful place in the conversation that's going on around the United States? And I think it's time for nonprofits to stand up and create a new reality. So that begs the question, well, what exactly is our new reality? So I did a little research on this topic. Of course, Google, as my friend, can find a lot of things. I learned that maybe there's a new reality in spiritual dynamics. That's a possibility. This person, I'm not sure exactly who this is, Honey Boo Boo, I think, came up when I typed in new reality. There's so many things about the new reality, but one thing we do know is that the new reality that we are facing as nonprofit organizations, it's complicated. There's so much going on, and that's what I'm going to focus in on today. I'm going to share with you the 5 trends that are shaping a new reality for nonprofits, the things that I believe we need to be focused in and focused on as a nonprofit to make sure that we are doing the right things moving forward as it relates to the world that we live in today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is greater interest in service. Way back, now it seems like forever ago now, when Barack Obama was in office, the numbers showed a massive spike in civic engagement, or at least interest in civic engagement across the United States. There were people that were wanting to be more involved in volunteering and being connected in their communities. But most of that energy, a lot of it, was captured by the public sector, which we're going to come back and talk about here in a few minutes. We know that the number of volunteers, or people that put themselves out there to volunteer, rose substantially. And an unprecedented number of people in their retirement years created this broad band of potential volunteers. And we saw that so many of them, instead of focusing on saying, I'm going to volunteer for XYZ organization and I'm going to become really involved with that, they started to micro volunteer, meaning that they're one weekend helping one organization, and maybe next week they're going to go help a different organization, but they're getting involved in smaller ways with more organizations. We've seen a massive trend towards that. And we also know that the biggest aspect of having this greater interest in service that we need to be focused on as a nonprofit is that we have to find new ways to engage with people. Even carried through the Trump presidency up to this day, we've seen these numbers maintain their original growth that we saw to just back again at the beginning of Obama's first term when it started to take off and grow. But we have to figure out as nonprofits, the key is that we have to figure out different ways to engage with them. All right, so let's dig into number 2. The second trend that we see are the demographics that are shifting fast and furiously. We know that the largest segment of the workforce today, and you can look at the generation differences, the millennials, Generation Y, Generation X, they're all defined in different ways. But what we do know is that the people that are born 1977 to 2004, the Generation Y, again, for those that were born 82 and later, the millennials, that is the largest segment of the workforce today. So we need to understand how to connect with this generation in a way where spending time in, not just time out, was part of their lifestyle. That's just the way that this entire generation thinks. This generation is more diverse than any preceding generation, without question. In fact, by 2043, the United States will be a minority-majority society. There'll be more defined minorities in our population than there are people that are part of the defined white majority. So this is changing fast. Working collaboratively is second nature to these people. We know that giving back is more important than getting more. We know that engagement and transparency, work-life balance, these are things that are not just nice to have, they're required. People in this generation want meaning in the work that they do. They want to make sure that the work that they do means something. We all want to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves. That's human nature. And this entire generation is wired in a way that they are attracted to organizations that know what it means to have a vibrant culture. So in other words, they agree with Peter Drucker, even though most of them don't know who he is. He's the person who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I'm going to take a moment and we're going to talk about organizational culture and ways to think about organizational culture in a way that will transform the way that we attract people to work with our organizations. And I think the single best definition of what an organizational work culture is was coined by someone who wasn't even talking about organizational culture, but it's the best definition I've ever seen. It's by Maya Angelou, one of my heroes. I believe that Maya, her writings, her words are some of the most inspiring that have come out of the last 100 years of the culture in America. But Miss Angelou is the one who said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. This is the quintessential definition of a company culture in my estimation. It's the way that we make people feel being part of an organization. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going down this rabbit hole on company culture and organizational culture to see if we can change the way that we're thinking about delivering on building really vibrant cultures that people want to be part of. So I want to start with just 4 stats about employee engagement that I think are really helpful. Number 1, 70% of people in the United States today claim that they are not engaged at work. Think about what that means. 7 out of 10 people in the typical work environment are not engaged in the work that they do. We know that 89% of employers think that when people leave an organization, that they're leaving because they need to make more money, while only 12% of people who are leaving organizations actually say that that's why they left. And that ties in with this, that 75% of people who leave an organization, they leave their job not because of the organization or some dissatisfaction with it. They leave it because they don't jive with their boss. I'm a huge believer in this concept of LMA, which stands for lead, manage, and hold people accountable. And a good manager in any organization, a person inside an organization who manages others, should have strong characteristics and a strong skill set in leading, managing, and holding other people accountable. It's kind of a sad state today. The vast majority of managers, of people managers in most organizations, are people who were put into that position not because they were the best at managing people, but because of one of two reasons. They either have been around the longest, or they were the best at whatever job it is that they're now being asked to be a manager of. So if you're, say, a development professional, if you're a really great fundraiser, and you're really good at it, what most organizations do is they'll say, well, we're going to hire 3 other people on our development staff, and this person is the best developer we have, so let's put them in charge of the others. It's the worst reason to give someone a promotion to become a manager, that they've been around the longest and or that they're the best at their job. The best reason is to find people who are naturally wired to lead, manage, and hold people accountable, naturally wired for LMA. So we have to put great people in managerial roles so that people are encouraged to grow and to learn and to remain engaged in an organization. And the fourth stat that I want to share is that 70% of millennials say that they would take less money for a job where fun is valued. We know that fun and purpose behind an organization is way more important than the money thing. So this is something that we can all deliver on, no matter what our budgets are, no matter the size of the organization. We all have the ability to deliver on that. And there's another article that I want to share with you from the Nonprofit Times. Every year, they do a really great study on the most engaging nonprofits, the ones that have the best workforces, the best reputation as an employer. And every year, they go through the process of rating the best nonprofits to work for, and they put out their top 50. And in the 2018 list, there are a lot of great nonprofit organizations across the United States that made the list. But the thing that I take out of this, the most important thing, are the 10 key drivers. Based right out of the research that they've done, the analytical study they've done on all of these organizations, they went back after they identified the top 50 workplaces, and they asked the team members, the employees of those organizations, what drives you? What compels you to want to come to work, that interests you in this organization? Number one, they felt that they were valued. Number two, they have confidence in the leadership. Number three, I like the type of work that I do personally. Number four, I feel like I make progress at work on most days. Number five, I can trust what this organization tells me. And you can see 6 through 10 there. But these are the things we need to be focused on. Everything we focus on as leaders in nonprofit organizations should be focused around building a team and building an environment that feeds into giving these 10 key drivers to every team member that works in an organization. It's absolutely critical. So let's talk about then the 7 common traits of the organizations that we've seen. This is from a study that we did with nonprofit organizations across the United States to get a sense as to how nonprofit leaders are leading in a different way, the ones that are leading companies and organizations that are known for their culture. So this is a self-assessment. As I'm sharing these 7 common traits of culture leaders, I encourage you to judge your organization. How are you doing on these 7 things? Number 1, does the leadership team walk the talk? Are they the best examples in the organization of making sure that we are doing, not just saying, show me, don't tell me? Number 2, does the organization value learning and growth? I refer to these folks as learnivores. Are the organizational leaders people that are constantly growing and learning and evolving as humans and in the skills that we bring to the table as nonprofit professionals? Number 3, is the leadership team transparent about every aspect of the business. I believe that the word transparency is a bit overused. It's become, just kind of a throwaway word because it's just used so often these days. But the meaning behind what we're talking about is certainly, it certainly cannot be emphasized enough. The importance of making sure that people in leadership are open, honest. They will have hard conversations. They don't leave the elephants in their little backpack sitting on the floor behind the conference table. They're getting issues on the table and talking about things in important ways. We're being transparent in every aspect of the organization. Number 4, the best culture organizations in the country have leaders who embrace change. They know that change is inevitable. It's really our reaction to and the way that we handle change that really sets our character and the tone for our organization. It's critically important that we embrace change in our organizations. Does a leadership team listen more than they talk? My grandmother used to always say, we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should listen with the intention to understand. And it's so important that our leadership in any organization listens and has their ear on the ground as to what's going on in that organization. Number 6, are the employees the biggest believers in the mission? If there are volunteers, donors, board members, other stewards of the organization who believe in the mission more than the employees, the people who work side by side every day, then there will be an issue. It's really important that the employees maintain the status as the thought leaders and the biggest believers in the mission of any organization. And then number 7, does a leadership team take action, not just words, on diversity and inclusion? There's a self-reinforcing cycle that has happened. It's a systemic thing that's happened in America, and it's something that I've become incredibly interested in and spending a lot of my personal time digging into understanding diversity and the requirement that we all be focused on helping expand the diversity in any organization. This is something that I find interesting, that 75% of white Americans, if you look at their social networks, their Facebook, their Instagram, their Twitter, all their handles, they have 75% of white Americans have social networks without any minority presence whatsoever. Because we hang around, typically, most of us, people that are like us. And so when we ask our team members to post a job or to look for a new employee for some reason or another, of course, the people that are part of our personal network are the ones that are going to, that we're going to go out and talk to, and we're going to feel comfortable. So it's really interesting that this systemic approach has limited the ability for most of us, most organizations in the United States, to really fully deliver on diversity. And we hear all the time, well, diversity goes beyond just race and gender. It's also about your sexual orientation and your ethnicity, your religious affiliation, your disabilities, your personality type, your thinking style. There's all these other things that contribute to diversity, thought diversity, and all of that. And I don't disagree with that. I do believe that is absolutely true. But I also believe that oftentimes we use this statement as an excuse for not doing the right things when it comes in particular to racial diversity in our organizations. We say, well, we're focused in other ways. We're really thinking about personality and thought diversity and other things. And so I think we use it as an excuse many times for not doing all the hard work that we need to do with making sure that we are pushing forward with an open mind, a caring heart, an intention to evolve the way we think about diversity. So I'm excited about the cathartic awareness, the changes that are happening across America right now, just based on our awareness and our intention to change and evolve. The bottom line with culture is that culture is not something that we create and we've arrived and we've built this amazing culture and now our work is done. That never happens. I can tell you with our own organization here at Firespring. I know Lindsay mentioned in the introduction that we were featured in Inc. magazine back, 2016 as one of the best companies to work for in America. The truth of the matter is we've got an awful lot of work to do. So much work to do for us to be where we need to be, where we want to be. It's not easy. We're constantly evolving and working on it. The bottom line is that the average adult in America, we spend the majority of our waking hours at work, more than anywhere else. So why wouldn't we want to work in an environment that feeds us with energy instead of sucking the life right out of us? I will never in a million years understand how so many people in America go to work every day just feeling frustrated and drained at the end of the day because the life just got sucked right out of them while they were at work. We all have the ability to impact this, no matter what our roles are in our organizations, whether we're the founder, the executive director, the CEO, whatever our title, doesn't matter. If we're entry level or top level, we all have the ability to impact the culture of our workplace. And it's on each of us to make sure that we're constantly focused and working on it. The key with this entire trend, the shifting demographics that are happening and the need to build an engaging culture around that demographic is that we need to embrace a new wave of diversity and openness, include these young people in our organizations in the decision process and in the big picture, not just by words, but by action. Include them in that big picture and foster a work environment that's focused on people first and foremost. Because if we take great care of our people will be great stewards of our mission. All right, let's talk about number 3, the blurred lines between nonprofit and for-profit. This is something that has intensified really substantially just in the last couple of years. And I know Amish made several comments around this section that regulations that once favored nonprofits, they're coming under fire because businesses are becoming more socially engaged. We see 501c3 organizations that are straying outside of what they used to do to do more things like a business might have done in the past. There's a new type of corporation called an L3C. There are nearly 2,000 of these across the United States. They're operating all over the United States in Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, Illinois, Michigan, Utah, Kansas, Missouri, Wyoming, Louisiana, North Dakota, then 26 more states. There's legislation pending now to create more legislation around creating a new type of business, a company that is focused on a social enterprise as their focus, which is changing everything. And then, of course, there are B corporations. B corporations, there are more than 2,600 across the world in more than 60 countries now. And this is a company that positions themselves as a business with a social conscience. At least that's how they refer to it. So these are companies that are focused on the triple bottom line, as they call it, and really focused on purpose, on their why more than they are on their what. And it's changing fast. Right here at Firespring, we are a B corporation. This is something, it's an action that we took back in 2014. On July 9th, 2014, we became the first B corporation in the state of Nebraska, joining Tom's Shoes, Warby Parker, Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, New Belgian Brewing, all kinds of companies that have become certified B Corps. And our mission changed. Prior to that, our mission, the purpose of our organization would have been, we didn't really have a stated purpose, prior to that, but it would have been maximize shareholder value or something like that. And now, today, we say our purpose is to leverage our people, our products, and our profit to do more good. And we do that through our Power of 3 program, where we take 1% of our top line revenue and donate it to nonprofits that we support. 2% of our products are given away in kind to nonprofits, specifically 3 nonprofits that we are hyper-focused on as part of our Power of 3. And then 3% of our people, where we're volunteering one day every month. So every single team member in the Firespring organization across all of our different enterprises, more than 200 people, are focused on and required actually to go out into the community and volunteer for a nonprofit of their choice. They're required to go out and engage in the community in a meaningful way, to volunteer to a nonprofit of their choice. We don't tell them what organization or organizations they should support. We want them to work with an organization that inspires their personal mission, that aligns with their personal passions. If you do the math on that over the course of time, one full day every month is the equivalent of about 3.5% of their time over the course of a year. So this is something that is really changing dramatically. These for-profits are trying to be more like nonprofit organizations. And at the same time, again, to Amish's point when we got started today, nonprofits are trying to operate more like a business. And so we have this massive convergence happening. And it's not just that. It's that now there are corporate causes that are competing with foundations for donor-directed funds. So instead of giving to nonprofit organizations, a lot of companies and organizations are now creating their own foundations and using those foundations to do something very specific. And they're not spreading out the donations and the funds as much as they used to. And the key here is that social virtue now is no longer exclusive to nonprofits. So that brings up the big question. The big question is, if a young person today can work for a corporation, make a good living, and still do socially meaningful work, why would they choose to work for a nonprofit? As nonprofit professionals, we must have an answer to this question. We must figure out how to position our organizations in a way that compel people to want to be part of it. Because if they today feel like they can go to work for a corporation and make more money and still be meaningful in the work that they do, it's going to dramatically affect this trend that we've seen from the last 10 years of growth in the nonprofit sector. I'm really worried about where that's going to take us. So the key is that we need to stay true to our mission and be who we are unapologetically, and make sure that we attract and retain the best people that we can come across to help us grow as an organization. All right, let's talk about the fourth trend now. Number 4 are the technological advances. The technological advances are changing so fast. So imagine just for a moment, just think about all of the innovation that's happened in your lifetime. Now, let's think back to your parents' lifetime. And just let's keep going back all the way to the beginning of humans on planet Earth. And we take going all the way back to the beginning of mankind, and you add up everything that's been invented, created, innovated, the technology growth that's happened right up until today. What's going to happen over the next 18 months, technology, innovation, the scope of it all will double. Think about what that means to all of us, the massive rate of change that we're experiencing in our world in all things, medical and just technology, the way we use the internet, the way everything happens. We're doubling about every 18 months the entire scope of technology in the world around us. Nicholas Negroponte, back in 2008, so 10 years ago, said that a child born then, 10 years ago, will have access to tools and technology when that child graduates from college that are 1,000 times more powerful than those that we use today. So these kids are 10 years old now. They're going to be going to college here in another 7 or 8 years. When that happens, they're going to have access to tools and technology that will compute at the speed or the rate, nearly the speed and rate of the human brain. In fact, there are experts from Cambridge who already claim that we have the ability, or closing in on the ability, to download your brain onto a computer hard drive. How would you like to do that? How would you like to download your brain on a computer hard drive so you can make it available to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren someday? They can go and, hopefully there's a delete key so we can I want to remove 1987 completely from the hard drive. It's crazy to think about the rate of change and the things that are happening now. The world's largest information source, Google, has no books. The largest taxi company doesn't own any taxis. The largest movie house owns no cinemas. The largest software vendor that doesn't write apps. The changes that have happened and that are continuing to happen are mind-boggling when you think about it. And I know that dealing with technology is not always easy. There's so much coming at us. It feels like sometimes that we're drinking from a fire hose. But I will say that when we've mastered technology, it feels liberating. It feels like the skies are lifting and the world is becoming an easier, better place to operate in. But there are so many people that are still resistant to technology. It's keeping us down. These are my parents. My mother, who passed away in 2011 from breast cancer. It's my father in the middle. And my parents, I describe sometimes as recovering Luddites. They were kind of the last people onto technology. It took them a long time to be comfortable getting into the computer age, right? It wasn't something that was natural to them. So I spent a lot of time helping them understand how to use email or chat or text or getting on Facebook or whatever it might be. But what finally pulled them in, like most people in their age segment, it was their grandchildren, of course. Their grandchildren wanted to communicate with online. They wanted to somehow connect with them. So I remember the day I was on my way out to Denver, Colorado for a conference I was attending. And I live in eastern Nebraska, in Lincoln, and I was driving across the state into Denver. It's about an 8-hour drive. And I was going to drive through my hometown, which is in central Nebraska, small town near North Platte, Nebraska. It's the farm and ranch country in the sand hills of Nebraska. And I had called my mom. She didn't answer. I left her a voicemail saying, hey, I'm going to be coming through. I wanted to see if you're going to be around. Didn't hear back from her. A couple days go by. Sent her an email. Still didn't hear back from her. Another day went by. So finally, I called her again. I got a hold of her. I said, hey, Mom, I'm going to be coming through there. I just wanted to see if you're going to be around, and I haven't heard back from you. And she said, well, why didn't you just Facebook me? And I said, who are you, and what have you done with my mother? Because just literally 6 months earlier, she said she would never be on Facebook. And when we finally got her to set up an account, I didn't think she would ever use it. But then she jumped in with both feet, into the deep end of the Facebook pool. And it's crazy how much it's changed the way that everyone communicates with one another now. Now, there are a few things that I want to dig in on, focusing on 3 fundamental aspects of technology. As a nonprofit, there are 3 things that I believe every nonprofit should be focused on as it relates to the advances in technology. One is your website and the CMS, the content management system connected to your website. Number 2 is a donor database and member management tools, depending on how your organization is set up. And then number 3 are the apps and web tools that simplify and leverage your day. I'm going to take a moment and go through each 3 of these things. First, with your website CMS. So AMA, the American Marketing Association, has a report every year that they publish. And for nearly 10 years running, every year they've said that the single most important investment that a nonprofit can make in any technology of any kind is in your website. Your website is the core center of your brand. Everything that you do as an organization points people back there. We know that more than 80% of people who give money to an organization will go check out your website before they give money. It's critically important that we have a website that's easy for you to understand and operate and manage. So think about all the different things that people want to do when they come to your website. Maybe they want to opt into your email or fill out a survey or sign up for your event or sign up to volunteer or make a donation, whatever it is that they want to do. The vast majority of us, when someone finally gets there, we send them right back off to some other widget or module or tool, because the vast majority of nonprofits are using tools like WordPress to manage their websites, which isn't bad in and of itself. The challenge is that most of us, when we use WordPress, or even if we hire a firm of some sort to build our website out in WordPress, those developers use free modules, plugins, or tools. And then what happens if it doesn't work exactly the right way? Well, it was free, so there's really no one to hold accountable for making it work. It becomes really frustrating. And the single most important thing is that we have a content management system that makes it drop and drag simple, point and click easy for you and at least 2 others on your team to update and modify the content on your website. Every nonprofit should have 3 people, at least 3 people in your organization who have the ability to update and modify the content on your own website. And you do that by having an easy to use content management system. So that's number 1. And the secret weapon or the secret sauce to any nonprofit is making sure that we build our website so no matter what people are doing to find us, whether they've answered an appeal letter that we send out, clicking on a link in our email marketing, typing in something into a search engine, however it is that they're finding us, it's really important that we build landing pages for them to visit instead of just sending them to the home page or the front page of our website. It's a really important strategy to make sure that landing pages become the core center of everything that we think about and do as an organization. We want people to be able to land on a page that allows them to take action, not to be shuffled off to the front page or the home page and left to fend for themselves to find what it is that they're looking for. That's really important. All right, the second of the technology advances is a donor database and or member management tool. So I believe that every nonprofit in their donor database tool should have a dashboard because we manage what we measure. We're going to manage to the things that we're consistently measuring. So it's important that we know where we stand at any given moment. That a good database tool should also give you the ability to measure engagement and automate as much of that as possible. We want to know how we're doing. How is our donor database doing and how are our donors doing? Are we retaining the donors that we have? It's a massive crisis in the nonprofit sector that we retain only 45% of our donors year over year. We've got so much work to do in that realm. And then number 3, every good donor database or even membership management tool should be integrated with your website so that the 2 are connected. So that if data changes in one, you don't have to go enter it in separately in the other. So it should be 100% cloud-based and every fundraiser should have access. These are really important things in terms of the must-haves in a donor database. And then the third area of technology, I'm going to invite you. We have a session on online tools that help nonprofits learn, listen, and engage. These are the tools that I use personally in my daily life as I help nonprofits that I'm focused on helping. The tools that I use to stay on top of social media, in many cases, blogging and thought leadership. In the amount of time that we have in this session today, I don't have time to go down that path and show you everything. But I invite you to join us for a webinar. Just go to firespring.com/webinars. You can reach out to Lindsay at the end of this session, and she can send you a recording of the most recent version of that session if you'd like to just watch and listen on demand. But it will help you understand at a deeper level the type of tools that you can use to stay connected in the modern time. So the key with technological advances is nonprofits that refuse to embrace technology out of cost, fear, or uncertainty, they're going to risk losing opportunities to evolve, to grow, to expand. Number 5, the last of the 5 trends are the new ways that we are collaborating with one another. So, we used to have these things called a Rolodex that we would scroll through, keep all of our names and lists and contact information. But nowadays, we don't use the Rolodex. We have everything on a little device that we hold in our pocket, our smartphones. It's ubiquitous all over the world. You can go to countries in any corner of the world and now find that the vast majority of the populations are connected with cell phones. In fact, cell phones are more widely spread and ubiquitous across the world than our toothbrushes. It's crazy to think about how fast this has happened. And we need to think about our networks in a different way. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have all these things. We call it our network. Notice we call it network and not net play. it's not necessarily, although this happens frequently, but it's not necessarily a bad thing when people are spending time developing out their networks on these tools. Now, in Facebook especially, we find that people can fall into a trap of you log into Facebook and 3 hours later you realize you're still watching videos or connecting, to things, and you're not getting anything done. You go. It's happened to all of us at least once, right? We have to make sure we manage that well. But we should be thinking about our e-network in a positive way. We should be, in particular, connecting with each other on LinkedIn. I believe that LinkedIn is an incredibly important tool for nonprofit professionals, and that we should all be using LinkedIn as a way to stay connected to the networks that we are part of. We should all be in the nonprofit sector connected to the board members that serve our organizations or that we serve on. We should be connected with our volunteers. We should be connected with the stewards, the donors. We should be connected with our children's teachers through PTA. We should use LinkedIn as a way to connect with people in our professional lives. I believe that LinkedIn will have fully replaced what we used to call the phone book in just a couple of years. And it continues to go down this path. And it's really interesting to see how it continues to grow in that way. If you're one of those people that has been ignoring the LinkedIn requests you've gotten from people, I encourage you to consider using it. It's a really powerful and professional way to stay in touch with people. It's like having your giant Rolodex in the cloud. You've got all your contacts and your connections, and here's the magical part. You don't ever have to update any of it. All you have to worry about is your own personal profile, and it stays connected. People in your network whose last name changes because they're married or they've got a new phone number or a new job or moved to a new city, all that doesn't matter. You stay connected. They update their information. You never have to worry about it. You can always stay connected. So I would encourage everybody that's part of this presentation today, reach out. We're going to spend an hour together today. Just type my name into a search field, Jay Wilkinson, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's what LinkedIn is for. It's to connect with professional people that you come across in your business or professional life. That's what it's for. So let's talk about how you use it. So let's say you're walking down the street. Someone on the other side of the street coming from the opposite direction is walking by. You see this person over there. Is this a LinkedIn or a Facebook friend? Here's how you tell the difference. If that person walking down the street on the other side of the street is the type of person that would compel you to sprint across the street, avoid traffic, maybe do the Heisman, pose on the way to try to avoid being crashed into, you finally get across there. You greet them, you embrace them, give them a big hug, and hold them square on the shoulders, look them in the eye, and say, "It's so great to see you. How you doing?" That is a Facebook friend. It's probably a family member or a friend that you've broken bread with, or had cocktails with, or hung out with in some capacity in the last year. That is a Facebook friend. If, on the other hand, it's the person you're acquainted with, you do the Miss America wave, you keep walking, or maybe you say a polite hello, or maybe you look down and to the right because you're busy. You're on a quest right now. You don't have time to stop. That's probably a LinkedIn acquaintance, somebody that you're connected to. Use these tools appropriately. Don't connect with everyone who reaches out to you on Facebook. Facebook should be a place just for family and close friends. LinkedIn is the place for us to connect with people we're connected with in our professional lives. The key on these new ways to collaborate is that we know social media provides substantial opportunity to leverage our message. We should use those tools, participate in that conversation that's going on out in the world. So these are the 5 aspects of our new reality: the shifting demographics, greater interest in service, blurred lines between nonprofit and for-profit, and the technological advances and the new ways to collaborate. These 5 things working together are going to help us move forward in a way that's really powerful. So here's a few action steps. Find new ways to engage volunteers. Foster a people-first work environment in your organization. Leverage social media to collaborate, network, and participate in the conversation. Use a content management system for your website, one that's point and click easy, drop and drag simple, that you can update yourself. Manage your connections with a donor management system that integrates with your website. That's very important. And keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving. Be a learnivore. There's so much to learn and so much information out there. I encourage you to check out nonprofithub.org, which is the best source of information for nonprofits that I've ever come across. In fact, I give them a shout out in nearly all of my webinars because I use so much of their data and research in the content that I share with you. And attend more Firespring webinars. There are several that I've mentioned today or that are relevant to the content I've shared with you today. I have one called Social Media 101 for Nonprofits, Converting Supporters with Powerful Landing Pages, Developing a Winning Nonprofit Culture with Minimal Resources, where we go a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole, and then the online tools session that I mentioned as well. All of these sessions are things that you may want to consider attending down the road with Firespring. Most importantly, just jump in. The water's fine out there, and I would encourage you to do it today. A year from now, you're going to wish you would have started today, really taking seriously these changes, these shifts that are happening in the nonprofit sector. You're going to wish you would have started today. And don't forget that no matter where you are in this journey along the way of understanding and adjusting to these realities of the new nonprofits, it's never too late to be who you might have been. It's never too late to start changing the way that we're approaching this whole world around navigating the new reality of nonprofits. I want to again say thank you to our sponsor for today's session, Friedman LLP. Amish and his crew there do great work. We're really proud and privileged to partner with them to bring you this content today. Now, our mantra at Firespring is to educate without expectation. This is the mantra that we operate by and we have for years. It's about providing content that helps nonprofits learn, grow, and evolve. But for just a couple of minutes, I'm going to educate with some expectations. So I'm changing course, turning the corner here. I want to be really clear that this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to take just a couple of minutes and talk about what we're doing at Firespring to help change the game for nonprofits all across the country. I'm really excited, actually, to share this with you. We know that 81% of nonprofit websites in the world today are designed for less than $1,000. That blows my mind to think about. It's because we're always trying to do more with less. You've probably heard this mantra. And the result of that is that the average nonprofit starts over on their website every 2 years. They have to start over, build from scratch, because they're just getting started on what it is that they're doing. And that's what we set out to do at Firespring, to solve the problem. So what we've done is we've built the world's most powerful platform specifically for nonprofits. So instead of using, say, for example, other tools like Wix or Square or WordPress or other tools, we built the world's most powerful nonprofit platform for nonprofits to take your existing website, all the photos, the content right off your existing website, and you move it in using our content management system. We bundled together the most powerful email marketing tools available in the sector. This includes drip marketing, automated marketing tools, all just bundled right into the technology so you can use it all together. The ability to not only take event registrations right on your website, but to manage them on the back end so you can manage all of these events right through your website. It's really cool. The ability to become a thought leader, to use blogging tools, and we even provide you with news feeds to help fill that content funnel up. Landing page templates that make it point and click easy for you or other members of your team to launch a landing page so you can follow best practices. We teach you how to build a website that gets results, that converts people to take action. And we have great search engine optimization tools. So not only do we give you the tools to manage your search, but also we give you the education, the how and the why, so you can go out and you will be found, so people will find you on the internet. We make it easy to take online donations right through your website, so you don't have to send them off to PayPal or other tools. It happens right through your website. And we enroll you in a fundraising boot camp that's part of nonprofithub.org. We've partnered with them to provide you with a boot camp and legendary support and training. We believe that the work that we do is only as good as the people that back it up. And so you can pick up the phone and call and talk to a live person who will walk you through anything that you need to do. Here's my favorite part of all this. It's so affordable. There's no upfront cost. It's If you do the work yourself to move your website in, it's just simply an $89 monthly fee for our basic plan. And if you need event registration and the ability to do email marketing, those are the two primary things. It's $129 a month. There's no nickel and diming, no additional stuff that we surprise people with. If you went out to build a website that does everything on this list, if you go up and down the street in your community, wherever you live, and you say, hey, how much would you charge, Mr. Web Developer, to build me a website where I can launch my own fundraising campaigns, where I can have a fully responsive design so my website will always look great on mobile and it's always updated to make sure that it's got the latest and greatest designs. The ability to set up my own landing pages and site analytics, statistics, and all of this other stuff. If you went out and had someone else build this for you, you'd pay $50 grand or more. And then you'd have to hire a full-time person to do the updates and the maintenance and all the things year over year at $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to do the work that you're getting for $89 a month here. It's the power of software as a service, where we build it specifically for nonprofits and make it easy for you to use. And again, you can DIY this, but if you prefer to have us do content for you, we have services available at a very nominal fee where we can help you with that content migration or build in some other things for you. If you want to try us on for size or just learn more, just go to firespring.com/demo and we can provide you with all of the other information you need there. We'd be happy to set you up. All right, Lindsay, what do we have out there regarding Q&A that we might want to address?
All right. Thank you so much, Jay, for all that content. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to start typing those in the question box. We have a couple minutes for those. We have one question here, Jay, about the L3C designation. Could you expand a little bit more on that? She wasn't able to read all of the slide, but it saw Kansas listed. Is that in effect in Kansas? Do you know? She had not heard of this before.
So again, an L3C company is a new type of corporation, and yes, it is in Kansas. It's a new type of corporation that it's a business structure that basically is a combination of an LLC, but it minimizes the impact and the taxability of an organization based on the fact that the organization is serving some social purpose or some social good. I would encourage you, if you want to learn more about it in the time that we have today, I won't have time to go deeply into it, but in the time you have today, just type in what is an L3C and then Kansas, and you'll find all kinds of stuff out there on different organizations, different companies. They're typically formed, by the way, by for-profit organizations that really want to focus more on having a social purpose behind their organization. It's less often that a nonprofit organization forms a new organization and forms it as an L3C. It's more likely to be a for-profit that is trying to find a way to make more social impact on the work that they do, just FYI. And Lindsay, I'm noticing the clock here that we are at the end of our time. So if you do have additional questions, please send them across. We're happy to address any of those that we can. You can just send those to hello@firespring.com and we'll address whatever we can. I want to remind everybody that in order to get a copy of the slides, everything that's appeared on the screen today, and even a link to the recorded version of this session, all you need to do is take the 30 seconds or so it's going to take you to fill out the survey at the end. That will opt you in for the information that we're going to share back with you. So thank you for taking a moment to do that. And I want to finish just by saying thank you. The fact that you've taken an hour out of your day today to join us for this, we do not take lightly. Lindsay, myself, our entire team here at Firespring, we work diligently to make sure that all of the work that we do is work that will raise the bar and help you grow as an organization, and it's relevant, it's actionable, things that you can do immediately to create impact and action. So we're really excited to share with you this information. And I believe that the noblest of all professions is to live one's life to impact others, and the fact that you have chosen to work in and around the nonprofit sector says an awful lot about you. So in case you don't hear it often enough, Thank you for doing the work that you do. Have a fabulous afternoon. Now go take on the day.